The Blast from Our Past Network.
Hey everyone, co-host Corey here. I just wanted to take a quick second and say thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. Without you, Podcasting After Dark would not be possible. If you would like to help the show grow, please consider signing up at patreon.com/podcastingafterdark. You can also support the show by purchasing one of our awesome t-shirt designs on our merch store at podcastingafterdark.com, or by picking up a copy of 7 Winters Alone by David Irons on paperback, hardback, or Kindle. Just search for 7 Winters Alone on Amazon or click on the link in the show notes. A free way to help out is to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Those reviews are huge for us and really helps get the show in front of new listeners. Again, thank you all so much for the love and support you've given us over these past few years. It really means the world to us.
Welcome to our Patreon exclusive interview series for Podcasting After Dark with your hosts, Corey Stevenson and Zach Schaefer. Tonight's interview is with the star of A Nightmare on Elm Street, Gotcha, and Wildcats, actor Jsu Garcia. Jsu Garcia, thank you so much for being on Podcasting After Dark.
Let's do it.
It's a true honor to have you on the show. Obviously, we're big fans of your movies, and from the 80s, specifically, in the early 90s, and I want to talk about Miami Vice at some point. But you've had quite a journey through...
I got to make it to the 2000s, which is good.
Yeah, and you're looking good.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm 44, and I'm looking at you going, are you younger than me?
I'm 57, baby. We can do this.
No doubt, no doubt.
And it's an honor to be here, Corey and Zach. The movies keep me young because I don't do them anymore, but you guys keep having babies. And the younger you guys, the older I get, the younger the fans get, actually.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street is a staple amongst all horror, sci-fi, and cult fans, and Gotcha is a personal favorite of mine.
Wildcats is a personal favorite of mine and my sister. There was one summer where my sister watched Wildcats every day, once a day. So that is forever burned into my brain, and I love that movie.
I like to watch these rappers, Charlemagne, all these guys they talk about. And there was one guy that finally spoke the truth, that one of the great rappers that doesn't get a lot of kudos is LL Cool J. And LL Cool J, he ran the whole music department in terms of rapping. I mean, he came in with 3 white lawyers and him, and he was like 16 years old or something. And he wrote all that, Wildcat.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, he did?
Yeah, LL Cool J was amazing, He doesn't get a lot of he's sort of underrated, I believe. I know rappers know him, people know him, but his contribution in the hip hop world is amazing.
Yeah.
At least for me.
No doubt.
At least for me.
Well, I mean, you're talking to a generation of, Corey and I are amongst that same generation of early hip hop when hip hop was really starting to take off. And then personally, the early 90s was when I was really getting into it. When acts like, LL and then Def Jam Records was just kind of coming up, and EPMD and Eric B. and Rakim, that's 80s, late 80s. But guys like Third Base, who definitely don't get enough appreciation because they were 2 white guys, and then the Beastie Boys, obviously. But now the new generations are finally catching on to that stuff, hopefully. And Wildcats exploded with the hip hop in there.
Yeah, I mean, that was a lot of fun.
I mean, we were rapping. Amateurs were rapping on a hip hop artist who wrote it, but we were total amateurs.
That was not your first movie you worked on, obviously.
My first movie, it goes back to Fame, the TV show. Erica Gimple played Coco. They took
Yep.
a lot of the real cast, and I got to play Coco's boyfriend. And I thought I was going to be a movie star in 1982, and Billy Joel was blasting through the radios and the Innocent Man album, and there I was. I went broke for. I was actually homeless, kind of broke-ish afterwards, but the possibility was amazing. And then I, I was frustrated, going to give up, and it's one of those things. And I was pulled into an audition. I got an audition to a Wes. We don't know who Wes Craven is. He was some really low budget guy who did The Hills Have Eyes and some crazy movies. And he gave it to me right then. You know, those are the best parts where they're like, "You got the part." And then he asked me to hang around for the casting of Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp was supposed to be sort of like your typical jock. I was the sort of the I modeled it after like a fake Travolta. Like Grease was popular, and I wanted the leather jacket kind of thing. I'm cool.
I thought you were gonna say Vinnie Barbarino from
Vinny.
Welcome Back, Kotter.
You're right. I've been
What?
I've been
Where?
like fake. I had no personality then, and I was trying to acquire them. And one of them was the Vinnie Barbarino. What?
Where? Who?
And all I can say is I had a 6-pack in that movie, and that's all I care about. And I was
You ruined it. You ruined it for young boys everywhere because they're like, I'm gonna have 6-pack abs. No, it's not that easy.
And then I had John Saxon was, I worship John Saxon because of Enter the Dragon.
Yeah.
Oh my God! But I didn't really. We weren't really like. I don't know. I was kind of a rude punk, and then later I would grow up to be a elder punk. No, I would just learn to be more respectful to actors. But he was definitely an amazing actor. And then I got to work with him on Murder She Wrote. Angela Lansbury. He was a cook that murders people or something like that. And then I was his sous chef or whatever. Mexican.
Jessica Fletcher.
Yeah. She's still alive, dude. She's amazing.
I mean, how awesome is that? Well, first of all, the fact that she's living to this day. John unfortunately passed away about 2 years ago, or about a year ago, I think.
Yeah, he lived down the street from me, and we'd always talk. I mean, the guy was the most handsome guy, and still, he did movies with Brando. Pretty cool cat.
Man of bronze. He was had that golden tan always.
Yeah. Do you remember that movie? Do you remember that movie he did where he lands on a planet and it's Amazonian women and it's all women planet and they all like kind of.
I should remember that movie.
they ravage him and everything.
You're speaking Corey's language right now.
As I'm checking IMDb, which one is this again?
This is going to be this administration. Once Kamala becomes president, it's just going to be all women, and they're going to ravage us men.
Corey, you okay with that?
Happily.
Oh man. Well, it's funny you bring up politics, but the idea of Corey and I are huge fans of just cinema in general, and John Saxon is a legend, and anytime someone like that gets ravaged, I'm sure it's it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And then what a world we're living in right now. Did you ever think to this day you'd be seeing the landscape that we're in with the politics? And I have a 6-year-old son, and I'd say that to him. I'm like, in no way did I envision things would be like this right now.
My buddy died. John Roger died in 2014, and I hit the books and I read. My friend has a great line called "Don't run your ignorance as information." Period. I love that.
That's awesome.
I stayed away a lot from the news because it was disinformation, misinformation. And then I love what Denzel Washington said. I I prefer, if I read the news, I'm misinformed. If I don't, I'm uninformed. I prefer to be uninformed. And that's, that's the equalizer, that's why I like him.
No
And,
doubt.
and I prefer um, to just to know what's here as my compass.
Yeah.
As I watch just the volleying of untruths and truths, they might not, the scientific fact is that all source is bias.
Mm-hmm.
All source is bias. So then you might as well just listen to your own counsel. Otherwise, you're going after the God of opinion. But no, I would have. But bottom line is, I read the Alexander Hamilton book, which is about this thick,
Wow.
and they were more vicious than we could ever be.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So this is a kind of a joke because we have news cycles that are 24 hours, and we're more inundated. But Alexander would be an anonymous writer, and he owned his own newspaper company under a different name and attack his opponents viciously. And back then, where we cared about each other's honor, if you called me out, we got to go shoot each other. It was called a duel. And it was a little bit more intense because if you called me out, we got to go shoot it out. And then Corri's got to talk us out of it. On the way,
I'm just gonna sit there and watch.
And it was illegal, and it's illegal to shoot it out in New York, so we got to go to Jersey.
Not Jersey.
And it was crazy. It was a crazy time. It was a crazy. So I go, you know what? It's all relative.
Yeah.
I really feel good about. I found all entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs say, you look at something difficult like this, and you look at it as an opportunity, never as a problem.
Absolutely.
And then it becomes creative. So on that aspect, COVID has allowed, you got to keep your mental health up, or you're going to kill yourself, which a lot of people are doing. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah.
And then there's that intensity, and there's rage in the streets of wear your mask, you damn devil, and then there's the politics. You can't get involved with it. It's like family fighting because my dad's a Trumpian, and I'm nothing. I didn't even vote. I don't want to pick a side that hates the other side, because the 75 million that voted for Trump, I feel for them. They're Americans. I actually go around the country, so I'm like a comedian. We do stand up in Tennessee. You can't throw down Tennessee or Kentucky, or when you're going into Florida. Those are all my brothers. I'm an actor, man. They buy my tickets.
Yeah.
So why would I throw down? An actor personally cannot take sides, or an artist. You must paint. You must act. You have your canvas, and let your feelings. My struggle is, I don't hate it. I'm disturbed by that we don't love one another a little bit more, because it's not that we're foreign, dude. Just like,
no,
the guy that follows Trump, not the guy with the horns at the Capitol. That guy's funny, but these guys, I know these guys from Florida. You know what I'm saying? My dad's a good guy, and he just went to the rally before the election. My dad didn't storm the Capitol. These are good guys.
Well, yeah.
I'm not saying they're all good guys, but I'm saying I can't take sides. The landscape's weird, so I stick to myself and I read books. And to answer your question, I just stay away from the news and Facebook and everything. It's the only way.
I mean, that's a very healthy perspective. I think I was going to say, the fact that I have a 6-year-old son and have to frame my thought process with him in a way that's educational, so he understands, and informative, so that he doesn't take a side or a bias. And we talk about, finding the light in everyone, finding that thing that connects us versus dividing us.
Nice.
I look at I have an opportunity or an advantage because I have an outlet with such a young source, you know. And in many ways, he's a guiding light for me because it allows me to break through some of the frustration and anger and the emotions associated with what's going on right now. And I agree with you that we need to love each other more. We need to show more compassion. We need to show more connection in finding those common grounds that we all have.
Because we are all connected, you know, through energies and all that, you know, everything there. And it doesn't matter what, you know, religious belief you have, or even if you don't have a religious belief, we're still connected in through all of this. And and to your point, what you said about, you know, how you take advantage of these opportunities, you know, for me, I just kind of like hunkered down and just, you know, full tilt boogie into the podcast. And, you know, we actually made some good strides this year because kind of just didn't have anything else to do. So let's push it, you know, and you take advantage of it. But it does get hard. And my wife works at Trader Joe's, so she has to deal with, you know, the people ranting without the mask. And
where's my toilet paper, man?
Exactly. Yep, exactly. So yeah, it's everyone's going through a battle, and you know, you see those people who are ranting and getting upset, and like you said, you feel bad for them because it's like, okay, I don't think that at their core they're a bad person. I think they're caught up in a madness that's happening, and they're upset, but they don't know what they're upset about because they're being manipulated. I mean, we're all being manipulated by the news in some way, shape, or form. And yeah, it's just at some point, just look at the person as not the raging lunatic, but look at the person like, you know, like how can I help you? How can I help you see a better way?
Yeah, compassion. I got a good friend out of New York. He's making T-shirts that say "Art versus Algorithm."
Oh, I like that.
Nice.
That's cool.
And you just said it. The algorithm seems to be AI algorithm separating us. Well, first of all, we're buying into it.
Yeah.
And art is this coming together.
Yep.
There's no separation here. So you reached out, and I don't think it was an algorithm. It was like, hey, you know, there he is. Let's work.
Well, you'd actually been on my radar for a long time because obviously we're huge fans of your work, and I also want to know about what you with your good friend John Roger, your connection and all of that. But you're saying you were kind of a, you know, cocky or a jerk. I'm paraphrasing, but you know, you're saying when you were younger, with those 6-pack abs and Nightmare on Elm Street, and you're probably on fire, and everybody's telling you you're fantastic, and then you go on to make you know, Gotcha and then Wildcats and yada yada yada. Like, what a journey that must have been for a young kid at that time.
Yeah, it was. I had a belly. I think I still do. I have a belly full of fire for what I knew. You know, when I was born, I knew what I wanted to do, and it was really weird because when I was young, I was like, I want to marry Dean Martin. So I didn't even quite know that I was a man or woman yet.
That's pretty awesome, actually.
But I was just, I love Dean Martin. Whatever it is, that seems like what I want to do. Then I guess I knew what a man woman is. And then I was like, well, I want to be like that. Always searching for what I wanted. And then the actor was, you know, I don't know if you remember Matt Dillon. Yeah. Matt Dillon was the guy you're looking at to go, that's what I want to do. You know, NLP, neuro linguistic programming, which is mirroring, you know, and psychology, they call it positive projection, negative projection. And positive projecting is just, what's your favorite heroes? Who do you like? Now go emulate that. Unfortunately, you find out bad things about your heroes, so you have to cut that part out. You know, and so you emulate and you NLP it, and I went after everything. But I was lost in who I was. I was like, yeah, I'll do Travolta today. Oh, Matt Dillon looks good. And then who was the other guy? It was Matt Dillon. And Dillon took it out. Dillon did like every teen movie that.
Oh yeah, and Outsiders, then, Flamingo Kid.
And you remember, of course, there was no Tom Cruise, but Outsiders was coming out. I auditioned for Outsiders with Harrison, with Francis Ford Coppola, and I read the books. I was in love with you know, those teenage. She's a writer. I forgot her name.
S.E. Hinton.
Yeah, S.E. Hinton. She was amazing. And then she wrote Rumblefish. And it was thing, Diane Lane was coming up. Those were my people. So then I just copied and got lucky. And then you make stupid moves. Like, I had John Travolta, I had Richard Gere's agent, Ed Lamato, and J.J. Harris was, I forgot, the girl that was in Monster.
Charlize Theron.
Right. JJ discovered her. And JJ was working with Kevin Costner right around the time of Dances with Wolves. And I passed, it's just crazy things you do, but you're here. I passed on La Bamba, and then Isai Morales got it. I passed on just crazy stuff. I passed on Batteries Not Included.
I love that movie.
But all based on, my integrity. My integrity is like, my friend said, well, you could have renegotiated it. I probably could. But my integrity was I gave my word to someone else to do this movie that bombed, that Madeline Stowe would be popular in. And then she blew up. And then I did just a crash course on B movies. It was amazing. And and I did 2 B movies with the famous, he's a famous guy. Back then, the cables were big. So to pump out B movies for cable content.
Yeah.
Then
Jim Wynorski or not Jim.
He was famous. But anyway, you get caught up making love to older women in femme fatale kind of movies.
Sally Kirkland, yeah.
Yeah, you're making love on pool tables, and then you're the fall guy in some badly written script. The Heat of Passion was cool because it was Sally Kirkland. So you're working with an Academy Award nominee. She saved my career. She brought me back because when you get caught in the B movies, nobody hires you, but more Bs, and maybe you go to Cs. But God, what was his name? But you'll know him. He did. He started all the guys: Francis Ford Coppola and Nicolas Cage, Jack.
Oh, Roger Corman. Roger Corman.
I did 2 Roger Corman movies. I'm like a graduate. I think Jack Nicholson did 2 or 3.
I ride my bike past his old studio with the giant binoculars in Venice.
By Venice, yeah. So we shot in the back. They pick little alleyways and shoot there. And,
oh, really?
and it wasn't made out of video. They shot film. So he'd take the most ambitious kids, give them a camera, and they work for nothing. And he was making gazillions,
Oh yeah. I mean,
and James Cameron came out of there too.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's a school. It's a good school to come out of. I'm proud to have done that.
Because if you can learn how to make a movie on a smaller budget, then imagine what you can do with a bigger one.
It wasn't far from Ed Wood. Remember Ed Wood? And print.
Yeah. No.
And print and roll. When the shuts the door and the whole wall moves. Okay, let's print. Moving on. I swear it's not far from that.
Well, when we were younger, those movies were considered B, or you go straight to video, right? And at the time, it'd say, oh, well, your career is over, right? Because you're going straight to cable, or how dare you be a screen actor and go to television? But now things have changed so much. It's so different now, right? As a performer.
I made a mistake. I didn't make a mistake. There's no mistakes. I'm in the right path. But my agent was a non-TV guy. It was known then that if you went to TV, it was over. Today, you go to TV as the platform to get out and do movies. The great example of that guy is George Clooney.
Yeah,
I was behind George Clooney. He was on Facts of Life, and I was making movies. And then he was smarter because I don't know if it's smarter, but he was getting the bucks and getting work constantly by being on a series. And then he went from one pilot to a pilot to a pilot to a pilot. They got canceled. He gets ER, it's over. So this is what we do. This is every February we get thrown on the wall called Velcro, and if it sticks, we got a series, but not always a hit series. I've been in a series and you don't get nothing. But George was a great example of a guy that worked really hard in TV, got a few something, and then he really blew up. Now that's the reverse of the way that I was brought up. It was never do TV, hold for the films,
Yeah.
and it was at a time when people took chances on young actors. Now you need the TV quota, the rating, the popularity on Instagram, and
Yeah,
then
the Instagram followers, you know.
it's it's a weird rating system now. There was never like that. It's like a director liked you and put you in the movie, and then you blew up, or you didn't.
Well, you had that run, like you said, you did turn down certain things, but man, whenever you popped up, your presence on screen, to me, I know I'm speaking for Corri too, but your presence was so captivating. I wanted to always see more of you. So whenever a movie would come out and your name was on it, that made me want to go see the movie. I don't care what it was. I don't care if it was Lawless Land or, which I actually like. I really love that movie.
Lawless Land was Roger's kind of takeoff on Mad Max.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was like, no, for me, it's like, thank you.
You're welcome.
I always I always loved to reinvent myself. And I was amazed that I would get a comeback every 10 years. So, it was incredible because I thought I was done in the 80s. The 90s were it was a little rough. And then I blew up in 2000, like heavy movies.
Yeah.
And I changed my name. My name used to be Nick Corri. John Roger told me, my real name is Jsu Garcia, Jesus Garcia.
Okay.
I was ashamed of the name. Now I'm not. I don't really care. But I was like, oh my God, I'm going in here saying I'm Jesus. I don't get it. And, my name is Jesus. But so I changed it from Tom Fox, Nick Corri, just, in search of who I am, essentially, and buying what, Svengali agents. You'll never work as a Latin. The only Latin guy that was working back then was the guy in Star Trek, Wrath of Khan. That guy, Ricardo Montalban.
Yeah.
Ricardo Montalban.
Ricardo Montalban was like the Latin, but I didn't want to associate with him because I'm not a Chicano actor. It was a whole lot of clicky things. Like, I don't want to be known as a Black actor, a Latin actor. I want to be known as an actor. So I never got into the cliques. So I was Nick Corri for a long time. Everybody thought I was Italian. When I went Jsu Garcia, they were like, oh, so you're Latino. When did you come into town? And then so everybody, the same people that cast me as Nick, after a while, you're not working, you're up and down. You can come in and they forget. They're like, wow, you seem amazing. I seem to know you. You're so amazing. And when you're fresh, you get moved around quicker.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I was like with Andy Garcia making Latin movies. I couldn't get an Italian role at all. And then all of a sudden I was just always a Cuban. I was always a Cuban or a Mexican, which I love. I'm not one of those actors. I came from the school of acting that says, give me this much of a role and I'll make it that big. It was, it's not small parts, but small actors. And you tear your teeth into it. I did a movie called Traffic.
Yeah.
And it's just the brother on the page says Brother Oberon, the cartel guy. And I said, I'm going to make Benicio's there. I went to school with Benicio. I was like, I'm going to make this movie. I'm going to kill when the camera comes to me. So I got a gold tooth. I hung around real people that knew cartel guys. So I decided to be a gay cartel guy. And because everyone else is macho with the, Benjamin Bratt. He's got a, he's gay. He's
totally.
I'm brothers with Benjamin Bratt, right? So he's all macho and he just got driven to the set. He's dating Julia Roberts in real life. So I start to make up a story like I'm the brother, like Fidel Castro has a brother and this gangster has a brother, but I'm like that guy that was always shunned on and bullied, but I'll make him gay, flamboyant. And how it came about was the costume designer comes into my trailer and she goes, well, what would you like to wear, Versace or a suit? And I'm going Versace.
Yeah.
And it was like tank top with a shark in the shoulder. I'm like, that's the guy. I put the gold tooth. I walked into the set, and Steven Soderbergh goes, "Oh my God, what have you done?" And then Benicio goes, "I like the gold tooth. I used to do that." And then so I flipped it. I flipped it, and then you take a small part and you make it giant, and you create around. You've got to get that story down. And before you know it, they cut one of our scenes, but I loved my scene in it. And it was incredible to act with Benicio and be involved with Catherine Zeta-Jones. I mean, it was real. It felt real.
Well, that movie is huge. The fact that it came out in, 2000, I think, over 20 years ago, is a trip to think about, because I feel like it's very relevant to today. There's a show on Netflix called Narcos, and there's a cartel leader who's gay. He's based on a real person. But when you're describing who your look, the attitude, your character, Pablo, he's just like that.
Yeah.
Like, with I don't think it's the same character.
No, it's not. It's I knew about this guy that I played because he was in prison, and he would ask the playwright, the guy I was training under. He was my supervisor, my technical advisor. He would write plays and act out with men in the gay prison, and for not the gay prison, in the prison for the guys.
Yeah.
And I don't want the cartel guy to come visit me, but
I know it's still real. It's very real.
It's very real. It's very real.
Yeah.
It's not. And I said, I want to play that guy. And then he told me who it is. And I looked up his belt buckle, like it's all about that Mexican belt buckle, like that cowboy rodeo belt buckle, jeans, the boots. I mean, these are tough guys. They're not like, gay, I'm weak. It's like he just preferred boys, and that's okay, or men, but he'll kill you just as well, like El Chapo type guys.
Yeah.
They don't care. This is, these guys got money, they got power. I mean, you saw him in Narco. You saw that guy. I thought that guy was awesome.
He was fantastic. Maybe one of the best ones in the series.
Yeah,
for sure. And you hit on a really good point. This idea of breaking down that idea of sexuality not playing a role in the masculinity. In the sense that you just because you have a preference doesn't mean you're weaker than the other one. And
the way I played it was Benjamin Bratt. I just associated things. Okay, Benjamin Bratt's got a star for a girlfriend. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I'm jealous of that. So I'm going to have my stars.
Yeah.
And they're going to be any kind I want. And I didn't have to play the Don. I play, Sonny Corleone flamboyantly.
Yeah.
And I think Steven loved it. It was a trip. And so you reinvent. You got to stay alive in the game. You reinvent.
Well, to go and change your name, which is not necessarily something that happens on a regular basis, or to go back to your given name, and feel that empowerment to say, no, this is who I am. I'm not some Italian guy from Brooklyn, and to be fully authentic. Your friend John Roger, he helped you with that, right?
Yeah. More and more that, and actors, I just recently saw an interview with Hannibal Lecter, Anthony Hopkins, and Jodie Foster. An actor's quest is to find out who he is so he can play better roles, so he can be more of himself in the role. That's a different technique. The other one is to hide who he is by creating such an incredible character. He's not, but that's really not. I have to disagree with the acting technique of the one that thinks he's playing a character. He's playing elements of himself that identify to the character on the page. You can't create an entity to enter you. It's like, oh yeah, look, so Hannibal Lecter entered me. No, he saw the movie 2001 and he played the Hal voice.
Yeah,
So
interesting.
he copied that, and then there's things about Anthony that he produces out of himself that's creepy. That because he's such a great actor, he knows how to go there in himself.
Yeah.
And all these actors, like Christian Bale, is really a great actor to me, but he's really Christian Bale. So he loses weight, he does all this stuff, and distorts his body, tortures it, but he's still Christian Bale. Like he tortures himself to be something that he is not, but he takes elements of himself. But the great actor is Clint Eastwood. The great
Hmm.
actor is the guy that goes, "Look, I'm not going to really change much of who I am." Burt Reynolds too. Um, Burt and Clint are a kind of actor that I kind of like to be, so that you don't work so hard at killing yourself to take yourself out of yourself. And Clint had a look, said a couple lines, and he found himself in the spaghetti westerns,
Yeah, no doubt.
and Burt did too. And so, but it's not to say one's better than the other. But Christian's such a fantastic actor. But I'm like, he tortures himself every film. I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
No, I would torture myself to get those six-pack abs you had in
Yeah,
Nightmare on Elm Street.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
wouldn't we all?
But yoga, and a good diet will do that to you too. So
true. Well, I found out Brad Pitt was doing one time Pilates, so I got into Pilates. But
yeah.
Pilates ab work is incredible.
So I'm a big pro wrestling fan from back in the day.
Nice.
Hulk Hogan and all that stuff. And I was a kindergarten teacher for 15 years.
Wow.
And when I was a teacher, I would exercise with my kids, and I taught yoga to my kids, and we meditate and stuff like that. And I was very invested in the practice. And then this guy comes along named Diamond Dallas Page, who's a former wrestler, and he had a bad back, and his wife said, "You should try yoga." He's like, "I'm not doing yoga. That's for girls." He's that kind of guy. And he tried it. It gave him another 10 years on his career, and he created his own program called DDP Yoga, which I'm obsessed with. I've been doing it for well over 10 years. It's a mixture of Pilates and power yoga, which is very popular in Santa Monica, and that's where I'm at. And I've been doing that my whole life. I swear by it. And all I know is that it's turned kids onto it. Like, yeah, I want to do this yoga, because it incorporates a little bit of the aggression, which we all need. I feel like it's a very nice yin yang balance, because I need that as a human being, to have an outlet to kind of put it all out there. And it's kept me in shape. So there you go.
Yeah, yoga's got such power in it if it's done right.
Oh, totally.
It's thousands of years old. It's like, and yeah, I know. Yeah, congratulations. I want to look that up, or send me a link about it.
Yeah, I will. I'll off air. I'll send you some stuff. I'm happy to send you.
There was a lady that did the bar method, which that's how I trained. It's
okay.
I used to do ballet, so it was ballet with Pilates, and it was really hard. It's all with the ball and the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So stretching with the bar, and then you put the ball like between your legs and try to, you do all the ab work, lifting your leg. Oh my God. And it's a 30 minutes of just burn. But COVID must have killed her business.
Yeah, it's hard. A lot of my wife loves to dance, and that's her form of exercise. And fortunately, her dance instructor does like videos, but you're not really making any money off that, because 6 people are watching it, and that's about it. But but you're saying, as far as ballet is concerned, is that how you got involved with fame and
Yeah, no, an actor has to do everything. Like if you look at Robert Downey Jr., he's great. He goes, actors, I'm not saying good or bad, but the way I was trained in a Stella Adler Conservatory or Uta Hagen, you go do dance, you go do sword fighting, fencing. So you learn your body movement, Alexander technique. It's all body. You have to do that if you want to know about your body. So there's, yoga's a fantastic form of knowing your body, so that when you're going into the scene, you're just like, you're pumped. nowadays. Like I love The Rock, but man, he pumps so hard. His
He's gonna explode.
His muscles are so big. I don't know how he can walk without blasting his thighs open. And so what happens is you walk, you walk like a muscle, like a bodybuilder, and he'll get those roles forever. But at some point, I'd love to see him just tone it down and get a different character. Like, did you ever see that movie Cop with Sylvester Stallone when he toned it down?
Oh, Copland.
Yeah, Copland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great role, great movie.
I mean, Stallone is unbelievable. And
yeah,
when he went Copland, I was like, man, that was smooth.
That movie holds a special place in my heart because it showed that it was at a time when he was doing very similar roles, action movies, and reminding people that he can act in a dramatic sense, and playing a guy who was deaf in one ear, and it's just so good. But I was gonna say, you're bringing up bodybuilders, and you worked with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and
I know.
Nice segue, right? Collateral Damage. So
I remember I was I was so trying to suck up to him. I'm like, yo, man, I'm working out.
I think we all would.
And I'm taking all this protein powder, and he goes, that's all bullshit. And he grabs a bagel and he goes, you need just to eat whole foods.
It's true.
And he's right. Because what I found out is those protein powders, nothing bad about protein powders, don't come after me. There's a lot of sodium in it. Look at the packets. So you bloat from water weight. So you look big, and guys like Arnold can see right through it. He's like, that is not muscle, that's water. Go take a pee and come back. And, we used to play chess together. Like, I really loved Arnold. He's an amazing guy. I still do. And I think I see him every time he has a heart surgery. Like, I saw him in a convertible and he just got out of it. I'm like, how you doing today? He's like, I'm doing okay. And he takes off. He's always biking.
I see him biking around where I live. He's always around here.
He's a good example. He's just a good man and a good example of someone that's living his life. And he doesn't apologize for anything and went after it. And that guy's crazy good. And I see his son working out I follow his son. I like his Mexican son. For those that, the reason I like the extramarital affair son is that's how I was born. My mom didn't marry my dad. And when I look at the son, I go, man, he's got all these Kennedy kids. And then he's got the Latino kid that looks more like him than any other Kennedy kid.
That's a trip.
That's amazing. So Arnold was great. I played chess with him in the trailer every day. And then I sucked at it. And whenever he would come into the set, he would say, loser. Loser. He was always funny. He had jokes. And that's where I took the little role and made it big.
You sure did. Collateral Damage, I think, is a decent movie. I really like it.
Cliff Curtis was so gracious to let me play his sidekick, so he was great. I had no lines.
No, but and that's the thing. Just your presence again, your presence on screen, and like you said, you seem to reinvent yourself every 10 years, or you have this this run, and we're coming up on it's 2021 now, so the opportunity's there.
Well, also going back to talking about being authentic and everything. My wife is of Mexican descent and first generation, and I never want to speak for her. I actually wanted her to come on here and say hi. She was so nervous because growing up in a obviously a Latin household, her mother didn't speak English as well, so they watched a lot of horror movies as a kid, and because that can easily translate, unlike comedies and whatnot. And A Nightmare on Elm Street is absolutely her one of her favorite horror movies of all time, but having you in that movie, representation matters. And when she was younger, she didn't have that. It's not like it is today, which is one of the things I do love about now, like the current time we're living is I think there's a lot better representation. I think it can get better, but I think there is better than there was in the 80s. But I think that is important, and I know for her it was important. Again, I didn't want to speak for her, but here we are.
Yeah, I don't want to go too political, but the administration, they got all sorts of what I call just token people. And I was like, yo, man, what about Latinos? What about like a full blown Mexican with a hat, with a mustache, ranchero, like a Vicente Fox? Hey, yo soy el administrador de transportación. And here's what we're going to do. I want to see some real, or a Cuban or a Nicaraguan. I want to see or somebody from Spain. But I was like, he's giving a lot of roles to different people. Someone said he picked the Native American Indian, which is great.
Yes.
Because let's diversify. Let's go cray. Yeah. Let's give it to. I'd love to see a Puerto Rican or a Dominican.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we have a better opportunity of that now than we did maybe a couple of years ago.
Sure.
That's for sure.
But yeah, no.
And it is a beautiful thing to see the representation, and obviously, I as a teacher, I taught a lot of social justice curriculum at 5 because I feel like you can reach. Doesn't matter whether you're 5 or whether you're 35. It's all about the way you frame it, right?
Mm-hmm.
In order to understand it. Spirituality is the same way. I think you just need to know your audience to connect with them and know what they're going to understand. And it was always a beautiful thing, to talk to kids about diversity and just multiculturalism and respect and common ground. Like we said earlier, common ground. And it's so much easier at that age to reach them because they're so untainted by all the other things in this world, right? And it's a beautiful thing. And in many ways, I always wanted to live up on that mountain. So I was away from all the other stuff. Kind of what you were saying, that just not ignorance per se, but just the idea of like not being bombarded with those mistruths or the bias.
I was, I did a movie with, I'm like you. I try to come into a movie like a 5-year-old. The veil is up. There is no prejudice. And I did a quick story. Did a movie with. Did you see Me, Myself, and Irene?
Yeah.
Small.
Farrelly brothers.
I think you're supposed to call him Small Man.
Yeah.
The black guy. So I forgot his name, but nobody was talking to him. He was on the set. I did a movie called, I don't know what it was called, but it was a crazy movie with Rodney Dangerfield. And he would hire comedians, ex-porn stars, and he had this young small guy there. And I'm a curious guy, so I became his friend. I'm like, yo, how do you drive that car? He's like, I'll show you, Jsu. Come on up here. And so we hung out. And so that's my thing. Part of so he showed me how he drives the van. It's all through the hands.
Yep.
Then I'm talking to the porn stars because I want to learn, how did they make all that money? And what are you doing with it? Are you investing in it? And what's your distribution?
Totally.
Dude, the girls loved that I was curious. And then he was like, yo, Jsu, introduce me. So then every time at lunch, we'd all be hanging out. He's a cool guy. And I just learned so much about, he had to jump on the bench and get a seat. He's up on the bench to be my level. But we get into it like, what about this? How do you do that? And I'm more like a 5-year-old curiosity. When you have that curiosity, there's no room for prejudice or biasness because it's always, I want to be curious about the Trump people. I want to be curious about the liberals or the elitists or whatever it is. I want to be curious about it. What is it? What's going on? So I want to be in on it. Why? Why do you think like that? Then why actors, really good actors, have a what if always in front of every sentence, and really good actors, and I'm surprised some actors would attack Trump or things like that.
Yeah.
Because even in military, you never hate your enemy. I studied with the guy Hal Moore, who wrote the book on leadership, and it was the We Were Soldiers.
Yeah.
Yep. True leaders, the real guys that I know that fight in wars, they don't hate their enemy. They spend more time trying to bring their buddy home. So they kill the enemy. They don't hate the enemy. It's like, I got to bring Zach and Corey home. I will do everything I got to do to bring Zach and Corey home. And that means annihilate but I never saw the real guys saying, I hate the other side.
You're not fighting out of hate. You're fighting for a positive reason.
And a really smart person knows the enemy or knows the opponent, and you don't put that energy out to the opponent. So as an actor, the way I was brought up is, if I was going to play Trump, I'm being political now. If I was going to be him, I got to get in his head. What's he thinking? And I learned a long time ago that when you're playing a bad guy, I'm not saying he's bad. If you're playing a bad guy, the bad guy doesn't know he's bad. And that's the compassion you have to have for someone like him. He doesn't know that.
Yeah.
Now, if you listen to Howard Stern really does a great job, because he had a bunch of therapy. So now Howard can analyze why he was off.
Exactly.
But until Trump knows that he can see himself that he was off, you'll never be able to change him. So why are you getting upset? He doesn't know. Okay, anyway, go ahead. What were you saying?
No. I totally agree with you. First of all, I think therapy is a beautiful thing. I think everybody should do it in some form or way. I think the stigma of it being a negative thing is a bunch of crap.
Well, that's why actors know how to analyze themselves. Some end up killing themselves.
Yeah.
Because they can't forgive just the darkness, or they're in pain. And that's kind of like why I'm out. I don't have all that stuff. I do, but I just love myself. So, but I'm not going to use that and dig into that every couple of movies and keep cutting myself so I can get the tear and the Oscar. So it's very, to me, I feel that every person is talented with gifts. How you abuse that gift for a result ends up becoming a consequence. So if I keep crying in every film, and I'm crying and I'm really crying, you got to get some help to basically unpack that.
I was married to one once, so I know.
Yeah, there you
go. But not anymore, thankfully. And speaking about all of that, I want to kind of talk about what you're doing now.
Yes.
As a mystical traveler, right? Is the documentary that you made a little while back. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Mystical Traveler I wanted to direct. Steven Soderbergh was a big influence. He was the first guy to bring the red camera to work. The red camera is an amazing camera. And he had ice packs on it. It was overheating, and we shot Che, the movie Che.
Yeah.
And I played Che with Andy, and then Soderbergh hired me to play another character for Benicio. That's my second film with Soderbergh. I was blown away by this camera, and I was like, you know what, I want to direct. And then I would email Soderbergh every now and then, and he'd give me non-advice. Like, the best people that you'll have around you is to not give you the advice. And so he would say crazy stuff that would inspire me, but let me fall on my own and let me learn on my own. Those are great teachers. So Soderbergh to me was, and so was JR. Let you fall on your own. He's got his hand out like you're a teacher. The 5-year-old, you got to let that 5-year-old kind of fall and, oops, I hit my head. Got it. I won't do that one again. So I wanted to do a story about his life. He did. It was unlimited money to do it. And I got to go into his archives, and I'd never done a documentary. And I talked to Soderbergh. I talked to some big editors, and I learned it, finished it, and I retired. That was it. That was and I remember told JR, that's my opus as a co-director. And I told JR, I was like, man, we're done. And he goes, well, you'll probably never want to do this again. I'm like, you're right. I'm done. And then it's not a documentary for everybody. It is a spiritual documentary about a man. And I did pretty good because even though he's my best friend, I put controversy in it, which some directors were saying, look, you don't want to be so biased. Create a create an obstacle. Where was it the obstacle in his life? Yeah, he was attacked in the papers. Okay, bring that up. And then it was great because it felt fair, like I did, of course I'm going to, but I learned about journalism. You start to, which is not anywhere on TV, but journalism is the investigation of the individual, and you get more than one source and you back it up. And that's a documentary, and it's pretty good. I shot it all on the red. I learned about how to make a movie. I can make a movie. It's easy to make movies.
How about writing a book, though?
That was hard. But in the words of JR's father was a coal miner. And they went up to him, and he's a big foreman in the coal mining industry. And they asked him, but you didn't go to school. How'd you do all this? And he goes, you see that Rolodex right there? I hire people that went to school and they can do all that for me. And that's really the way I look at it. I dropped out at a high school, got my GED, went to universities eventually. But, you got a smart person. I'm not saying I'm getting pretty smart, but a smart person knows his limitations, and you get the pros. That's it. I knew I can edit, but I can't edit this movie. This is egotistic. So I hired real editors. I knew I can shoot a film, but I'm not really a cameraman. So I got a professional cameraman. I knew I can do the sound. I can do a little bit of everything, but I'm not great at everything. So when you know your limits, then you can accelerate, because what makes a great president is that you hire great people around you. Because a president can't.
Exactly. Yep.
A president can't really do much. It's how he functions with his cabinet and things like that.
Yep.
But I loved it. I don't think I want to do it again. It's a control trip. It's an ego trip, because you control a lot and you feel empowered. Everyone's coming up to you. This is the fallacy of movie making. For 6 months, everybody loves you, does everything for you. I learned that on the set of Along Came Polly. So 25 million, I don't know how many millions of dollars. Everyone's on golf carts, and you got trailers and whatever you need. If you sneeze, there's tissue. You know what I mean? when you're done working, take out the trash. You know what I mean? And so you have to learn. An actor has to learn to rise and fall like a human, because if you're just being pampered 24/7, you won't know what the real world is.
Absolutely. And like you said, when you've got all these people around you helping you make this project, the end result is hopefully a good thing if you hire the right people, or not just the yes men who are going to agree with you, or yes people. But then, like I said, with writing a book, you wrote a book, Dreams of the Master. Is that what it's called?
I wrote two: The Love of Master, Dreams of Master, and COVID helped me hire. Once a producer, always a producer. I hired actors to read my book for Audible.com.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool!
I love that.
Yeah. So I found actors that were out of work during COVID that were voice actors. I'm like, how would you like to? And they're like, oh my God, I need to work. And
trust me, I'm a voice actor, so I know what you're saying.
Great. Well, you guys can kill now, because so that's writing a book was. I knew I can't type quick enough to really align it with my thoughts. So I recorded. I'm a good speaker. So as I speak, probably 100% of the crap that comes out, you can take 20 and then put it in a book. So I would go around the country and record what we call satsangs. Satsangs are coming together, talking about truth like this. We're just sharing.
Cool.
if you record this, transcribe it, give it to an editor, they cut it, and that's not different than a movie.
Nope.
And then
That's cool.
everything to me is title and a cover. I go backwards. What's the poster look like? I usually very Roger Corman like. My buddy worked for the studios. I gave him a couple $1,000 and I said, get me a poster. And he made me like the guy that made the King Kong poster. My buddy worked for the company, and this guy works on giving you state of the art posters. Branding to me is everything, like the title,
Totally.
what it looks like, and then I get in line, rank and file behind that. Inspirational. Wow, I'll fight for that. And then you can promote it so that you constantly have the look, and I don't have my book around me, but you have the look and you have the title. Was the title? Everything's about the title in a movie or a book or whatever.
I'm looking at the cover actually right now of Dreams of a Master.
Dreams of a Master. And it's basically just the first one, Love of a Master, is how did I get over everything I did while grieving. And the Dreams of a Master is, okay, I got it. I know how to recover and go inside to find the people I lost. You don't go back to memory because that's gone. Like COVID, the world we once knew is over.
Yeah.
And I tell people, I do a lot of counseling, a lot of it free. Some of it I get paid, but I do counseling, and you're right. My idea is to have a therapist in every corner that you can just like, hey, how you doing today?
Totally.
But basically we're not done yet. We don't know the fallout and so I say this, we're the same actors in a new movie. The old movie's gone. And everything you once knew is gone. Same people, your family's there. And some you might lose, because in politics, I saw a lot of friends lose friends and things like that. Because I just wouldn't engage in conversations about hating Trump or loving this. I like to say that I follow Christ, which means just this one line I love about him. If you do it to the least one, you do it to me. And so if I screw my neighbor, then I've done it to me. Then I've done it to him. And so I'm like, well, I can't do that. As much as I don't like Trump, then I just won't turn on the news and have unhealthy discussions by myself in my house because I just saw him on CNN. So, because I don't know Trump, right? But somehow we're to hate him because they say so. And I'm like, I'm not going to hate shit. This is like stone them. It reminds me of, I used to go to the Middle East a lot. And, it's a group, it's a herd group. Let's kill them or let's lynch him. I'm like, ew. Reminds me of school. Let's beat him up.
Totally.
There's a fight after school. And I'm like, oh, wait, what do you mean? And then before you know it, you're fighting someone you never wanted to fight, but the crowd gives you going. And I'm like, I can't do that. So I lost a lot of friends that way.
I love what you said about I didn't want to have like an argument with myself over him. Like, at the end of the day, you're right. I didn't even think about that. It's like, I'm just like, it's all in my head. Like I'm yelling at him in my head, and what does that help?
Keanu Reeves, one of the smart guys, said a little bit of awareness above the normal, little awareness above normal will get you through. And the awareness is to be able to look at yourself. Like, what am I doing, man? I'm fighting in the car by myself. About a conversation with these other people, but I'm alone in the car. Why can't I be in the now?
Well, like, why is my blood pressure raised and I'm just in the shower? Like, what is happening? And you realize it's just all in your head.
You're having phantom pre-conversations about what you might have with that person. Well, fuck them. Here's what we're going to do. And then you're in the shower going, stop. And part of it is harnessing the mind that will start creating pre-conversations of a meeting. And JR calls it the borrowing of a lawnmower, where the neighbor across the street wants to borrow the lawnmower. I want to borrow Zach's lawnmower. And I'm like, So I'm crossing the street going, well, what if he doesn't give me the lawnmower? I'm just going to say, screw you, Zach. And
totally.
And maybe he's not there. Maybe he's going to give me this attitude. Then when I knock on the door and you go, hey, Zeus, I'm like, hey, stick the fucking lawnmower up your ass. And it's like, and then Zach's like, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah, you can borrow the lawnmower. I don't care.
And that's
Take a bagel.
That's kind of like what we do to amp ourselves up every day.
Yeah.
And anyways, I laugh because I catch myself doing it. Like, who am I fighting with? I was with my girlfriend in Tulum, Mexico, walking. And she goes, where are you? And I'm like, in my head, fighting with the guys in LA.
Totally. Oh my God. You're so right. It's so human. That's being a human, and we do it every single day. There is no end game with this, with the self-care and the self-help and the self-love. Like you've got to do it every single day. Just like I told my son, I'm like, if I worked out today, that doesn't mean I don't have to work out ever again. You have to do it every single day. And the mental part of it is exactly the same. You have to constantly find that thing to keep yourself fit mentally as well as physically. And we're starting to run out of time, but you are such an inspiration. And I'm sure you've gotten that from many people throughout your life. But from two Joe Schmoes that you just met, that, it's really remarkable to have you on the show and not just talk about your acting career, but just talk about life,
we can do this again.
It would be an honor, sincerely.
Anytime you want, man. I love it. I adapted and adopted to this world now. So otherwise, if you don't, you're going to die.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I just wanted to, reiterate what Zach said. I know he didn't talk a lot, but I was just absolutely mesmerized. And this was a huge honor for me personally.
Thank you, Corey. Yeah, of course, man. I'm here to serve. Love you guys. Take care.
Love you too. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to Podcasting After Dark's exclusive interview series with Jsu Garcia. And, as always, thank you for your support.
Imagine being one of the last people on Earth, being trapped alone with something not human, something always watching, something always waiting. What would you do? Where would you run? Where would you hide if you were haunted for 7 winters alone?
Podcasting After Dark presents 7 Winters Alone, a dystopian haunted house story by David Irons.
Available now in paperback and ebook.